everybody. Welcome to the next episode of How Did We Get Here? The Facebook and YouTube live series I created to bring you face to face with some of the people that I have the honor, the privilege, and the absolute pleasure to work with in the last 15 years of my career, self-made career, as an entrepreneur, visionary coach, dream builder, and lifestyle design expert and cultivator. Y'all listen, this is the season finale, okay? I just want you to know. So if there was ever a time for you to share this video with somebody else, click the share button right now, get it to some other people. We want to inspire folks to take their next step, their first step, their next maybe thinking about step, whatever it is. We want to get as many people on the pathway to making a difference in their lives as humanly possible. I am so excited to have you all here for this conversation. I'm going to tell you about my guest this week in just a minute. But first, as I typically do, I want to give you this motivational moment. So this week for the finale, I want to tell you that you win in the end. That's the motivational moment this go around. You absolutely win in the end. So what does that mean? Regardless of the twists and the turns, the ups and the downs, and the journey of how you get from where you are to where it is that you want to be, know right now from the beginning that you win in the end. Everything that is meant for you is coming to you. Everything that you need is already there. It's already supplied. All you have to do is take the next step. That's the whole purpose of this show, is to get you motivated to take just the next step. You don't have to know the whole thing. You just have to do and know the next thing, right? So you absolutely win in the end. And if there was ever anybody that I could think of that highly represents that concept, that you absolutely win in the end, it is my guest today. I am so honored to share this virtual stage with one of my good friends, Quinn Conyers. Listen, y'all, Quinn Conyers, you may know her from a myriad of places, but let me tell you who she is. Quinn Conyers is the energetic MC. If you've ever been introduced by Quinn, you will never want to be introduced by anybody else ever again, myself included. Quinn has published multiple books, including her most recent Speak Black Woman, Speak Black Woman. And that goes to show for her founding a community called Speak Black Woman. And she is on and popping. She's moving and shaking. We're going to talk about where she's come from to get from where I met her, and I'll tell you all about that in a minute, to where she is now, this energetic MC, this founder of Speak Black Woman, this person that is moving and shaking in this world. And we're going to get you on stage with Quinn in just a minute, right after this video. Finally, you're honest with yourself, like, that's not my path. That's not what's for me. Okay, but then what is for me? You're human, you are living, you are breathing, you deserve to live a life you absolutely love. You must believe you are here for a reason. That purpose thing, that sucker sits on the inside of us just waiting for an opportunity to scream out. So now what? What's my next step? Welcome to the stage, y'all. Quinn Conyers. That's like my crowd. I need that. That's a note for the production in the background. We need the applause track over top of this stuff. Quinn, thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is all mine. I am happy to be here.
Okay, so I want to jump into this, and throughout the course of the conversation, we're going to get into more the nuts and bolts of, kind of exactly what you do, and toward the end, we'll give the folks a ton of time. But Quinn, you are a speaker. I introduced you as the energetic MC. You are the go-to person. If somebody is hosting an event, a conference, a workshop, doesn't matter if it's in person or virtual, you're the only person that needs to be called. But can we start talking about your journey? When I met you, you were selling purses. Mm-hmm. Purse Paparazzi was the Quinn Conyers initial brand. Talk to me about that, because that's a heck of a gap from selling purses to now being the most sought after face for a stage to MC any event anywhere in the world. Tell me about the purse sales, though. Tell me about Purse Paparazzi.
Yeah, so I went from purses to the podium. But I started at the podium and then I went back to the purses. And it's interesting because, purse paparazzi was not necessarily my brainchild. When
Right.
I graduated from Howard University and I moved to Baltimore in 2007, literally I was here, I was working, I was just kind of always been entrepreneurial and business minded. I just didn't know how it would play out.
Right.
And I met my husband now. He was a boyfriend at the time. I met him at a place called Eden's Lounge. Don't judge my life if you live in Baltimore, Maryland. But I met him at Eden's Lounge. And I remember our first date. I went to his house and I was like, I saw a bunch of luggage on the side of the wall. And I said, are you going somewhere? Are you traveling? He's like, no, I sell things. I said, what do you sell? He said, well, I got some white tees. I got some sneakers. I got some handbags and purses. I said, well, I like purses. I like handbags. Let me see what you have to offer. So he immediately goes over. He opens up the suitcase. There's brown bags, pink bags. There's red bags, yellow bags, fringes, small ones. And I'm like, whatever. So I picked out 4 bags that I liked. And I immediately saw the wheels turning in his head. And he was like, okay, for all 4 of those bags, it'd be $60. And I was just like, what? He was like, what? Just because you thought that you were cute, you're going to get these bags for free? No, $60. And that's when I fell in love. He was like, I mean, I'm giving you a good deal, right?
Right.
So that's when I fell in love. And then I just realized really quickly he had a drive, he had a passion, he worked, but he had a side hustle. So I started making small things. I was like, instead of going around face to face to people, why don't you get women to have purse parties? Get somebody to host a party, invite their friends and family over. And literally you can do it that way. And that worked for a while. And then I was creating flyers for him. I was getting him a website and all this other stuff. And I don't know. It just kind of happened organically. And literally, I remember going home. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I haven't told this story in so long. And people always compliment me on my bags. Where'd you get that bag? I'm like, oh, my friend sells these bags. My friend sells these bags. And finally, they were like, well, just bring some of the bags home. So literally, I took these bags home. I'm talking baby boy style, pop my trunk. And all my friends and family came over and started going through these bags. I sold out of everything I had within 20 minutes. I promise you, I have never sold drugs a day in my life. But the rush that I felt selling those bags, I called him, excuse me, sir, I want to in on this business. But if we do it, we got to do it right. We need an LLC. We need an EIN. We need a name. He was like, a what? So I've always been entrepreneurial. And that's how I started. And we did very well. We started with regular handbags. And then we were invited to an AKA event, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated event. It was pink and green, everything. And I got inspired. And literally, I was like, ooh, I'm going to design a AKA clutch. And as soon as we did that, the Deltas, the Sigma Gamma Rho Zetas was like, where's ours? So we ended up getting licensed with other Divine 9 organizations. And we ran that business for about 6 years. And it was very, very good. I loved it. But I was also making 6 figures and I was unfulfilled.
Yep.
Because I knew I had more.
Right. So you said something in kind of the beginning of this that I just want to go back to. You said you were a speaker before, and then you picked up on this vision that was kind of somebody else's, and you took it and you ran with it because you are a visionary. And so it's not hard for you to have vision for over a thing. Get that. But you said you were a speaker first, and then you went to the purses. I read a post of yours actually earlier today as I was just kind of scrolling through your content. You mentioned something that I would love for you to talk about just for a second. There was like a moment of discouragement that caused you to run away from the thing that you initially felt called to, but then you hit this point of discouragement, and so you went on to something else. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah. So in 2014, the post, I know exactly what you're talking about. 8 years ago, I hosted an event in it's called Signature Blue Events. At the time, a bunch of people were asking me if they sold stuff and they wanted to know how to be successful sellers. So I had 170 people that registered for this event. 100 people actually showed up. I paid for the venue. I hired a photographer. I had a videographer. I had my good friends. My husband was there. My good friend Brian Olds was in there. My friend Mita. All of these people came out to support me. And I gave this presentation. What people don't know is this was 2014. I've been trying this speaking thing since 2007. Okay. On and off, trying to make it work. 2014 was not the beginning. It was the end. And I made this offer for people to work with me afterwards. I mean, people were high-fiving, taking notes, told me it was the best workshop they've ever been to. And I made my offer at the end to work with me. And absolutely, positively, no one bought the offer. I was devastated. I was pissed off. I was like, want to cuss on a Sunday type of mad. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. God must have made a mistake. I am not supposed to speak. So I was like, I'm not doing it. So I was dibbling and dabbling with the purses a little bit. And I was like, I'm putting all of my energy into this purses. And that's what I did. So for about 3 years, I focused on the purses and I was not speaking. I was not necessarily marketing myself. I wasn't hosting any events. And then a good friend of mine, Tiffany Bethia, I know you know Tiffany.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is
my line sister.
Yeah, she's like, yes. Right. And she said, Quinn, you know what I mean? Because she's been to some of my stuff before. She said, when's the next time you're speaking? When's the next time you're hosting an event? You know, I love what you're doing with the purses, but when are you speaking again? I said, girl, I quit. I ain't speaking no more. Like, I am over it. Like, I am focusing on these purses. And she says, Quinn, you're not good at speaking. You're anointed to speak.
That part. Come on.
If they was talking about snatching edges back then, I'd have been Becky Bald, right? I was like, what?
Right.
It just shook me to my core, and it just like, it stopped me. And she's like, Quinn, I've seen you speak. Like, no, we got to get back into this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like an immediate, let me go have an event next day. I just started to give my yes more. Quinn, can you come speak here? Yes. Can you be on this panel? Yes. Like, it happened that way. And then when I got back into the mix of things, there was a birthing that happened inside of me. It was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And even when I was selling those purses and I was super serving these women, they would always ask me what else. Like, I know you're doing these purses, but what else do you do? It's like, I feel like it's more. And I'm like, girl, nothing. Handbags, purses, clutches, because I was just like, I'm over that part. I tried that for 7 years. I tried to run a training business. People didn't want to hire me. So let me focus my energy. But yeah, that's why I say it took me 17 years to get to where I'm today.
Absolutely. And it is interesting. I know that there's so many things that you've done already. And I'm going to ask you about your your highlight moment as in the speaking world up until now in a minute. But I want to drop up these photographs that you sent us. You know, the people that watch the show know my favorite part is to get these throwback pictures so that we can talk about these pivotal moments in your life. Yeah. So tell us what's happening here, Quinn.
You know, I've always wanted to be a talk show host since I was in the 9th grade. And I think that before society, social media, or life gets in the way of your dreams, you dream. And I was very intentional. I wanted to be a host. So I worked with Education Channel 77 for 2 years as a host and a correspondent. So what you are seeing is Quinn probably 2008, 2009, doing what I love to do before I allowed myself to muzzle and mute my voice based on an audience's reaction. So I was out and about with the people. I was interviewing kids about all different types of things. And Quinn with a microphone or a megaphone in her hand was what I wanted to do, but I couldn't monetize it. So I put the microphone down. So you are seeing me doing what I wanted to do without restriction, without hesitation, without me questioning myself. That were those pictures. And I had a great time. It was cold out there, but I remember it's what I like to do. Interview people, talk to people, bring stories alive. And that was what I was doing when I wasn't muzzled.
So I want to talk about the muzzling really quickly. And this is a very interesting thing because I think that a lot of people can get discouraged on their pathway. I often talk about, when you come up with the idea or God kind of gives you the vision or you have a revelation, however you describe it, and then you go tell somebody. And even if that somebody is your family member, your friend, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your whatever, and they have the best intention for you, sometimes their limited view of themselves or their limited view of you because they've known you forever kind of a thing, that starts to cause them to mouth vomit. And then they mouth vomit all the limitations out. And sometimes it comes out in question form. Well, how are you what's the next thing? What makes you think you can when so many people are already? And all those things, I think, can come to be, forms of discouragement. And I think that's what people experience most often. Like in your case, we're talking about you being in the front of a room full of 100 people. Most people, that's not going to be their disappointment experience. So I want to know, though, how did you overcome the disappointment? And really, when I say overcome the disappointment, I guess there's probably 2 questions wrapped up here in one. One is, what did you do with the disappointment once it got there? Like, what did you do with it? And then eventually, I know it took a revelation from somebody else. And then I know, we had some conversations sometime after that about kind of, just going with what felt like the calling. But where do you put that kind of disappointment?
Well, I can't say I tucked it away.
Yeah.
I dealt with it at the moment. I compartmentalized. I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not being vulnerable. I'm not putting myself out there. Not again. And I think the beauty of my story is people saw my light and my greatness before I did. No one ever said to me, Quinn, I don't think you can, or how you gonna. If anything, they believed in me more than I believed in myself.
Yeah.
So my prayer many times was, God, allow me to see what others see in me. I knew, and I've been told that I had the it factor. And it wasn't literally until the end of the year that I had to unpack what the it factor meant to me. And the it factor to me was I have intentional transformation. So when people experience me, they don't come out looking at life the same. And I think that aura, I'll say anointing has always been on my life. And I just didn't see it because TD Jake says it best that, your genius is in your normal, right? So whatever you do normally, whatever you do without effort, whatever you do without thinking about it is what great. So it was never somebody else dimming my light. It was never somebody else telling me what I couldn't do. What happened was I thought talent was enough. I knew that I had a gift of gab. What I didn't have is structure. I didn't understand the speaking side of business. So when those people didn't buy in that moment, instead of me, I internalized that as they didn't like me. I wasn't a good speaker. I took it that way versus I needed some coaching and development on how to properly communicate to convert, how to speak to sell. But at the time, I didn't understand that. So I am grateful for the people in my life who now they're not even surprised. That's what gets me. I'll say, oh my gosh, they're like, girl, I ain't surprised. You did it. And I'm like, well, why am I the only one surprised? Absolutely. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, that's perfect. And I think it's a couple things in what you're saying that I think are really good for just people to know, right? Because this is all about using our life experience to provide context for what people are dealing with. I call it the 10-year gap, right? Like if we can give somebody behind us the benefit of the 10 years of pain, suffering, trial, and error that we've endured, then we can help the next group of visionary people kind of walk into their next thing a little bit faster, and the world becomes a better place for it. I think something that you said that bears kind of a need to sit on it for a minute. This is not meant to be emotional. The trick is to make sure that it doesn't stay emotional. We're humans, right? Like we're not, cold people. We have feelings, we have emotions, but this whole business thing, this whole getting your thing out of you, out into the world, it's not that room of 100 people didn't appreciate you. They just weren't your people. And sometimes that is what it boils down to. It boils down to getting your message in front of your people. And until you do that, you won't necessarily see the point and moment of the type of success, even when you're destined for it. So I just want to take that kind of moment to encourage somebody. Listen, y'all, even if it feels like people aren't getting it, they're not getting you. Maybe you're having some of those feelings like Quinn is saying, it feels like the room of people doesn't like you type of thing. It's not you. This is not an emotional process. The job that you have is to get really super connected to what you feel called to do, and then turn that into something executable. That is what this whole thing is. I'm always talking about people finding success inside of a formalized process. So Quinn, I'm going to get a little preemptive on your product offerings. Quinn is the curator of the verbal business card. Quinn has literally thrown out the elevator pitch and turned it into something entirely else. Quinn's like, we don't need this elevator pitch thing anymore. We need something else that's more tangible and it's more transformational. So Quinn taking your calling of transformation, of using your voice to be able to do that and turning it into something actionable and producible and, monetizing. I think that's kind of the thing. Because imagine if you had just kind of sat in your emotional space around the disappointment and kept on trying to force yourself into selling purses, force yourself into doing something else. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that position right now today, trying to make themselves do something to try to, suppress the disappointment, try to just make it all, emotional, and then not really ever taking the step forward. So I want to spend a couple minutes talking about some conversations that you and I have had in the past, right? Quinn and I used to meet all the time. We used to have like conversations and just great energy exchange and information exchange, like a lot of the people that come on the show, which is fantastic. But I remember that moment where you were still like, I'm going to go do these vending events, but I don't want to. And I'm just like, great, then don't. And I think that there's something really powerful, and we can just kind of talk about this for a minute, in learning how to hot potato some stuff sometimes, right? Like just learning how to let some stuff go when it doesn't exactly feel right to you, and just shifting and doing that hard pivot. What would you say to somebody that's kind of holding on to something at this point in their life where they're not really sure what to do next, but they know that what they're holding on to isn't right?
It was a lack mentality. You know, the purse paparazzi was a great in the season that it was in, and it allowed me to sharpen my speaking skills. I was able to meet a lot of amazing women. It proved to me that Black women are a viable option as a consumer choice. It allowed me to get some great milestones. Again, I mentioned that I am not in a sorority, but I love the sisterhood. And literally, I was able to get a contract to create and design purses for the AKAs, the Deltas, and the SG Rows. The only contract I didn't get was from the Zetas. And to be in a Greek organization and get licensing plus a contract, it doesn't happen. Those you can get licensed, but the contracts usually goes to sorors, right? So to be able to do that, what Shauna is talking about is I was fearful. I was literally quit my job when I went to my husband and says, I can't do all four. I can't be a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur, and an employee. He was like, you're not going back to work, are you? I'm like, no, give me 1 year to work Purse Paparazzi. If we about to be homeless, struggling, and, you know, going down to Baltimore Street, if you're in Baltimore, you know what that means, then that means I have to go get another job, right? But, you know what I mean? Let me try this. Listen, right? If it gets to that point, then that means that it didn't work itself out, right? Shauna, don't judge my life, right? So literally,
no.
When you make that, listen, I know when you make that move and the business is working for you and the money is coming in, and you left. I wasn't making six figures when you leave your $70,000 a year salary to sell purses, and now that you're making six figures but you're not fulfilled, it's scary as hell to walk away from that. Absolutely. So I'm looking, I got this brand new baby. And then I found out a year later I was pregnant again. Now I got 2 kids under the age of 2. I can't stop Purse Paparazzi. In my opinion, I have to do this business because Purse Paparazzi and these women literally are the reason why I have clothes on my back and food on my table. This is where I get my income. So to walk away and go back to the podium, to walk away and go back to public speaking, which is my first love, right? It just seemed unfathomable to me. Like, how can I do this when this has been working for me? And then God snatched it. People just stopped buying purses. And slowly but surely, I had to switch it. It was like the faucet, the floodgates were open, but I was not being obedient. He been told me to walk away, that the purse season was over. And I need you to get back to using your voice. And I didn't listen. And then it just dried itself up. So the fear, the scarcity, all of that mindset, the good girl going back to Tiffany, laying on her floor, she was getting me all the way together. It's not one of those things that it's easy to do. I wish I could say it's a magical pill, but you got to cry through it. You got to cuss through it. You got to pray through it. You got to do all of that to come on the other side. But the biggest compliment you can give God is obedience. And I had to surrender. It's like, okay, I can't anymore. I can't.
You know, I didn't know until just this moment exactly how much of our stories overlap. It's so crazy. I cannot even believe it. And I love that though, but because there's another nugget in there. It's not just you. You're not the only person, and not you and me. The people that are watching later, like, it's not just you. You're not that is considering, struggling, fearful, nervous, scared, concerned about taking the step. You're not the only one. So Quinn walked away from a $70,000 job to do something. I walked away from a $63,000 job. Quinn felt called to do something else. I felt called to do something else. And we're around the same age. So we were probably going through this struggle at the same moment.
You should have called me, girl. You should have called me.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So I think that you're not doing this in a vacuum, understanding that you're not doing this by yourself. So, I mean, I want to give you some time, Quinn, of the things that you're, and for me, this whole show motivating and inspiring somebody else. So I feel like the last thing I just want to drop in here around that, and then we'll have time to talk about all her things. It's just, there's no such thing as a perfect circumstance. So just for as much as you are thinking about making, even if stuff feels uncertain, there's no such thing as a time when there's no such thing as a time where you will not feel like you can't see all the way, clear. It's going to be muddy. It's going to be a little fuzzy. That doesn't mean you don't take, that just means you can't see the end. All you need to do is see the next step and just take that one. Even if the only next step that you can see is to let go of what you're holding on to. So I really just want to give Quinn some time to talk through the stuff. Well, and before that, last thing. Quinn, is there anything that you want people to know that you have not already said, either about your journey or something that you feel like will help them take their next?
We're all in different, I would say, parts of our life and our journey. And right now, I am keenly aware that I am in a success season. And when I talk about seasons, a lot of people think, summer, spring, summer, winter, fall. Seasons can last years. Season can last months. Season can last decades. And I know just by what's happening in my life, the opportunities that are coming to me, that I'm in a success season. And I felt a point, should I share this? Should I do this? But you have to understand that sometimes it takes people 16, 17, 18 years to become an overnight success. So applaud them, because you might be seeing their breakthrough, but you have no idea what their been through has been. You could be seeing them at their day 22, and this is your day -2, right? So not getting jealous or caught up, but saying that person praise and acknowledging them, because anybody who has any level of success, they've been through some things, right? So just acknowledging that. And then sometimes it's like, when you do reach milestones, when you do, have seasons of success, celebrate that, right? Because at the end of the day, your accomplishments can be inspiration and motivation for somebody else to keep going. We are quick to share what's going right and complaining, but when it's going good, we got to give God the glory on that as well. Not to get super spiritual, but what I'm not going to do is be quiet when you over here are busting me abundantly more than I can hope for, wish, or pray. But then I want to give the devil all the praise when everything is going wrong. Yeah, no, sir, no, ma'am. So my advice would just be to, as people are just being exalted, as people are amplifying, as people are moving forward, as people are being rewarded, celebrate them. Because I guarantee what you're seeing, it probably took them 10 to 15 years to become an overnight success, as I raise my hand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. That's great. Celebrate people in their success. I love that. So Quinn, give us a minute. Tell us all your things. Where can we find you? What can people buy from you? How can they book you to MC? If y'all are hosting an event, you need Quinn Conyers. Don't play. Don't look for anybody else. Okay. So just Quinn, give us all your stuff.
Yeah, so I'm real easy. Quinn Conyers on all social media platforms. And if you are, having something and you are looking for an energetic MC, you want to make sure that people are completely engaged to what you're doing, go to QuinnConyers.com. If you are a Black woman who is requested or required to speak on behalf of your business, your book, on your brand, definitely go to SpeakBlackWoman.com. My podcast, giving you tips and tools on how to leverage your voices there. But more importantly, let's just stay connected. I also have the luxury language list. One of my biggest things is teaching you how to be very intentional and deliberate about the language that you use. So if you want to learn how to use luxury language, not discount dialect, you can go to SpeakBlackWoman /luxury and get your hands on my complimentary luxury language list.
That is great. So y'all go buy something, click a link, download something, QuinnConyers.com. Make sure you get the luxury language download. It will change your life and your perspective. Quinn, I thank you so much for being here. It was such a good chat with you. I feel like people their next step, from everything that you've offered, from observing your journey. I really think it was an amazing conversation, and I appreciate you. I'm going to say bye to the people, but hang around for just a second so I can talk to you in the back.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for being here. It has been a really good conversation. I hope that you enjoyed the season finale of How Did We Get Here? This show has really given me perspective. I hope it's given you perspective. I learned something from the folks that come on this show every time we do it, even though I know them, even though I've hope that you are too. I just opportunity to connect with me. You can essentially find all my things at my Linktree link. It's linktr.ee/the Shauna K. From there, you can book a 10-minute coffee chat. Listen, I'm only talking about that this time because I really want to talk to folks that are entrepreneurial in their mindset, in their practice, whether you're running your business, thinking about running your business, praying about running your business, talking to people about, I want to talk to you before the end of this month. So I'm setting aside additional time to do 10-minute coffee chats with folks that are really trying to get started or are thinking about how they're going to do their pivot. So you can click that link and just set up a 10-minute coffee chat with me. I would love the opportunity to talk with you and get you started in the right direction. I appreciate you all so much for your time and your energy. Make sure that you share this video with somebody else. Our goal is to inspire the next generation to be able to take their next step, okay? And even if that's you, okay, we're hoping that this inspires you, okay? And thank you all so much, hoping that your 2022 is off to an amazing start. We'll see you in season 2. Sneak peek for the people that stay to the end. There's going to be a season 2. So we'll see you in season 2, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in for How Did You Get Here? How Did We Get Here? And we'll see you all in the next season.